Hey there, everyone. This is Samuel Johnson, and welcome back to the Alien Force Retrospectives. And merry early Christmas to everyone, and happy holidays to everyone else. And today we're going to be looking at episode 25 of Ben 10 Alien Force, War of the Worlds Part 1, the beginning of the end of the season and the beginning of the end of the story arc that's been built up since episode 1. And in the beginning of this episode, we don't open on Earth this time. We open on Grey Matter's home planet, Galvin Prime. And pretty much what's going on is that we see a city full of Galvin just all looking to the sky, and in the sky we see an armada of battleships and warships, pretty much all these flying ships just coming in and all of them just looking menacing. And pretty much watching all this in this tower in the middle of the city with the Omnitrix symbol on it is Azimuth. Who's just pretty much the warships all belong to the Hybrid, and they're attacking, and so as Azimuth's watching, Professor Paradox comes in, and we see through their conversation we realize they know each other. And Azimuth says that without that, pretty much they're screwed. With Galvin Prime destroyed, the rest of the universe has no way of fending off the Hybrid. But then Paradox says, not true. There is still one more way we can stop it. And Azimuth said, and Azimuth doesn't. They're talking about Ben, and Azimuth says, no, that's not possible, and that's not what the Omnitrix was made for. But Paradox says, no. Well, he's proven time and again that maybe he can use the Omnitrix for more than just what it was intended. But pretty much, and Paradox says that he needs Azimuth's help in the coming battle. Azimuth doesn't want to go, but Paradox says he's not going to be leaving without him, and so just as a giant laser is running through the city and aiming for Azimuth's tower, they both vanish. So at that point, we cut to Earth, and Paradox and Azimuth find Ben while he's in the middle of a soccer practice, and they tell him that they need to talk to him. So they get Gwen and Kevin together, and they explain that the Hybrid have destroyed Galvin Prime. And so they pretty much say that this is the end game now. That it's getting that pretty much when it comes down to that the Hybrid's plans have kind of reached their zenith at this point. What's going on is that, and they pretty much lay it bare, and we kind of learn, and this is where we learn something else too. The Hybrid's plan is not just on Earth; it's apparently over the entire universe. As it turns out that the Hybrid's plan, how they conquer planets, is that they send a small group of Hybrid to the planet, and at that point, after that, they infiltrate the planet's population by taking a few and turning them into DNA aliens. They're foot soldiers. And then using the DNA aliens, they build an arch, much like the one that the trio saw in Los Soledad. And through that, and when they activate the arch, the entire fleet of Hybrid come in. And of course, Ben, Gwen, and Kevin are like, "Oh wow, that's gotta be tough. We took all of us just to take down one." And then we get in, and they reveal that ship that they took down was nothing. The ship they took down in the first episode was just a small cruiser, and it took all three of them just to take that down. So, and imagine an entire fleet of ships actually made for battle, of warships, all these things just flying in, hundreds of thousands, and pretty much no one would stand a chance. So the trio realizes they need to strike now. While the iron's hot. They have to take care of this now. They know where the arch is. They know what they're doing. It's time to actually go and plan this. But they realize they can't do it alone, and so they decide that they need to go and get their past allies they have to get their allies that they made during the series. But Azimuth says that he wants to have a word with Ben alone. So So Gwen, Kevin, and Paradox go, and we even learn that Kevin's middle name is Ethan, which even Penn points out it makes his whole name Kevin 11, which is actually pretty amusing. And so they go off to gather the troops, and so Azimuth and Ben talk for a while, and Azimuth is trying to talk Ben out of participating in this battle at all, because for one thing, while the Omnitrix was originally intended to help garner peace and allow other species to walk a mile in other shoes, it also serves another purpose. It acts as a Noah's Ark, essentially. Basically, if any species in the universe were to ever go extinct, or in the Milky Way galaxy at least, the Omnitrix would be able to act as a means of bringing that species back, because it contains the genetic material on that species. For example, kind of to list a very good early example, in the original series in The Big Tick, where we met Cannonbolt, we learned that his species, the Arborian Pelorota, were destroyed. Or at least their home planet was, meaning that either that Cannonbolt's the last one, or the Arborian species is well. God dang it, I know. Ah, dang it, I know the word. I just had it. I know the word. It's not extinct. God dang it. The Arborian species ah, dang it. I know the word! I had it, and then the instant I want to talk about it, it just kind of disappears. Not going... I know the word! I'm sorry, I'm getting... I know the word! Pretty much the Arborian species... That even if they're not extinct, they're at least they're endangered. They're at least an endangered species. But the Omnitrix would be able to revive them. And so, pretty much any species of the hybrid is wiped out, Ben can easily bring back with the Omnitrix. But then that means that if Ben falls in battle, then all those plans go down the crapper. Ben can't go in. The Omnitrix would be taken by the hybrid and either abused or destroyed. Pretty much all hope will be lost if Ben loses, but Ben isn't backing down from this. He's not going to just stand by and let the hybrid take over. And Asma keeps saying, no, you can't do it. And Ben says, oh yeah, what are you going to do? And Asma says, I'll take the Omnitrix from you. And Ben says, oh yeah, you'll try. And he has his hand hovering over the Omnitrix just to get ready. And so Asma realizes he can't talk Ben out of it and decides, well, if you're just going to do this, I might as well give you a bit of a hand. And so he goes to the Omnitrix, and using his own voice command, which I'm guessing the Omnitrix is key to the master command, to its creator, he activates the master control. And it works a lot differently than what we saw in the original series, where when Ben accessed the master control, he could just switch between his alien forms and stay that form for as long as he wants without any much thought. In this case, everything is now unlocked. Every alien species, we even learned in this one that the Omnitrix doesn't house 10,000 samples of alien DNA. It contains millions, specifically 1,903,000, and I'm guessing that 3 is where the alien species that Ben got from the alien werewolf mummy and Dr. Victor. So pretty much, Ben now has complete and utter access to everything, and in the meantime, his group returns. And it turns out they've recruited Alan Albright from Everyone Talks About the Weather, Cooper, who has created a giant mech suit from stuff in his lab, Darkstar, who they brought to Earth and who they said they'll let free if he helps them, and even if he wants to betray them, he has to help them if he wants to survive, since the Earth will be destroyed, and now he's on the Earth, and Julie, because she has Ship, who can turn into a battleship courtesy of Tim Curry. So, pretty much, they got all their forces together, they're ready to go, everyone's getting ready to charge into battle, they go to La Soledad, Ben gives a speech about how whatever they were before, they're a team now, they have to work together, they gotta go there's backs, and this is honestly something that I really loved, even when I was a kid. When we got to this thing, because this two-parter was built up big time, especially when you saw all the build-up throughout seasons 1 and 2. But just to make it even more awesome, I said before that Ben had access to everything now. He had access to every genetic sample in the Omnitrix. So when Ben does that, he's feeling a little nostalgic, so the very first alien he turns into with the master control is Cannonbolt. Cannonbolt. And it's nice just to see him again. It really is nice. And the design, he looks very similar. He looks about the same as he did in the show, with a few tweaks here and there. Like, there's not the black line here. The Omnitrix isn't located on his forehead, it's located on his chest. His eyes are green, but it's pretty much the same alien. He works the same, he moves the same, he looks the same. He is still Cannonbolt, and it's just so cool to finally see Ben turn into one of his aliens from the original show. It's a little thing, but throughout the show we've just seen new guys and all these things, and the closest we've gotten to the aliens in the original show were just representatives of the species, like with Alan or Basil or that sort, or even Azimuth. That's the closest we've gotten. But now to actually see Ben turn into one of them, and being one of my favorite aliens, of course it's gonna work. So yeah, it's actually just really cool. And he's not the only one that comes back, because the group runs into La Soledad. And pretty much it becomes this giant battle. We see them all fighting them off. Alan gets his own platform, is blasting the aliens a fire blast. We see Cooper using his mech suit to shoot them down or shoot them up. We see Darkstar kind of go nuts a little and almost drains them when they knock off his helmet. And we actually see something really cool from Paradox. It turns out he has the ability. Sorry, my dog is right there, so this is probably gonna shake as he gonna jump on the bed. But we see that Professor Paradox actually does have some nice time abilities beyond just jumping through time. As he pulls out a stopwatch and as several DNA aliens are shooting at them, he actually slows down time and just breezes right through them, knocking down several DNA aliens. If anything, the only one who can't do anything in this fight is Azimuth because he's a Galvan. He can't fight. He's not a fighter. He's a thinker. He's he's smart, but he's useless here. And it's just kind of funny because everyone else is jumping into action and he's just there trying to contribute. Kind of sad, but kind of funny all at the same time. However, halfway through the battle, when Ben sees Darkstar just kind of drain the DNA aliens, he tells him, "You can't do this. These are innocent people. They don't know what they're doing. We just have to take them down, not out." And while Darkstar is not exactly happy about it because absorbing so much energy almost restored him back to normal, he does concede, and he says, "Well, what are you gonna do? Then what are you gonna do? Cure them?" And so Ben decides, yeah, that's what he does. So he tries to activate the Omnitrix genetic genetic repair function, and well, he does manage to cure several DNA aliens, but unfortunately, it becomes a hindrance because in order to use that much energy, in order to do all that, the Omnitrix had to use a lot of energy, so Ben is forced. So Ben times out and is forced. So Ben is forced to turn back so the Omnitrix can recharge. It's ultimately not a big issue because it turns out Cooper watched him, and using his powers, he was able to cannibalize his mech suit into several blasters that are pretty much DNA that can cure a DNA alien with one shot. So he hands them out to the group, so they all start shooting DNA aliens. Ben goes jet ray, starts flying around. We see Kevin just mowing through them. We see all these guys just blasting at them, fighting, shooting wherever they can do. We see. I forgot to mention that. We get a very legitimately badass moment with Julie and Chip as Julie's just standing on Chip, the wind blowing, his ship's just blasting everything to Kingdom Come. It is awesome too. And so pretty much they're just mowing through the DNA aliens. They're getting through it. Ben winds up going. We see some more transformations as Ben goes Swamp Fire and entangles them so people can shoot them. We see a DNA alien try shooting them with a laser, so Ben goes up Chuck, who actually does look a lot different. They kind of make a retcon later in Omniverse to kind of explain that away, but honestly, I don't care. It's still Upchuck. He's still as cool as he just shoots. Well, you know my thoughts on Upchuck. I think he's fine. Fine, not one of my favorites, but anyway, that's just another thing altogether. So, Ben eats a laser and shoots it out, and the hybrid are seeing that the group is just mowing through their DNA aliens. They realize if they don't act now, they won't be able to act later. So they proceed to try and turn on the arch, and the group realizes this, and they realize they gotta find a way to turn it off. So they throw everything they have at the arch, but nothing seems to dent it, especially since it's giant, and they're like imagine this is the arch, this is them. There's no comparison. And so Ben decides, I think I have someone to do this, and we get the appearance of another one of my favorite aliens, Way Big comes back. He looks very similar, he doesn't have the extra eyes, but who cares? It's freaking Way Big, and he tries pulling the arch out of the ground, but unfortunately, it's too little too late. Just as he gets some leeway, it is about to actually pull the arch out, it activates and shocks him so heavily that he actually falls over and passes out, and the episode ends with a fleet of hybrid coming into Earth as Ben transforms back. So, yeah. Based on my descriptions, like with my other two-parter vlogs, I'm not going to go into my full thoughts on the special until I get to part 2, but as the first part, I think War of the Worlds Part 1 actually is a nice beginning to the story arc. I love how it is starting to culminate in everything, that the group decides to finally take action. Especially since for 2 episodes now, they've kind of known what's been going on, sort of. They've known it for the most part, with I already forgot his name. That one DNA alien that managed to fight his programming. I really don't know his name. He was a minor character. He wasn't connected to them beyond that, so. Yeah, I apologize. So yeah, sorry, I don't remember his name. So, but with that being said, to actually get, I like kind of seeing how big the stakes kind of are. Because the opening scene is a fleet of hybrid ships just kind of coming in and out and just destroy, and we learn that they destroy Galvin Prime, this big thing. It shows it's a big deal. We learn that they've been doing this to not just Earth but several other planets, including Galvin Prime. In Prime, where they've gathered where they gather the planet's inhabitants, turn them into DNA aliens, and force them to build this thing. It actually does show that this is kind of a big deal. That if they lose this, they aim to lose a lot. And I know there's a lot of other end of the world thing, but this is a storyline that's been built up for pretty much two seasons, and on top of that, it's been very well. On top of that, what I like about it is the fact that they do show how grand the stakes are by comparing the transport ship from the first episode. I thought that was really nice because, like Ben said, it took a lot of effort just to take that one ship down. So, that was just a small ship. That was pretty much just that was just a truck. That was just essentially a van. That was essentially just a truck. That was essentially just a cargo truck. That was essentially their equivalent of a cargo truck. And so to have an entire fleet of battleships, they realize they're kind of screwed. And on top, so yeah, I kind of like that. And I like seeing that they assemble people from the past seasons. I like seeing Alan again. I like seeing that they have to force Darkstar in, who I still love his design. I still love the way he talks through the mask. I even love how his freak out when the mask is knocked off. I like seeing Julie riding on ship as he shoots things down with his missiles. I love seeing Cooper actually using some of his stuff to create a battle suit. I like that. I kind of like that, even when he creates the blasters. I like seeing Paradox actually kind of being in battle and doing stuff. And on top of that, I love seeing the aliens from the original show. I admit, as I stated in the Ben 10 retrospectives, Upchuck's not one of my favorite aliens. I think he's alright-ish. But it is still cool to see him again. I love seeing Cannonbolt and Waybig as they're two of my favorite aliens. What makes this better is that after this episode, when they get to season 3, Ben keeps them. He's still, spoiler for this one, but once season 3 gets up, Ben goes back to his original 10, goes back to the Alien Force 10, but he gets to keep Cannonbolt, Upchuck, and Waybig, which I'm all for. I really am glad that they're bringing back that they at least have that they at least bring that stuff from the original series, and I'm just glad for that. So, but with that being said, with all my ranting and raving aside, as the first part of this finale, how does it hold up? Well, I will admit, it is entertaining. It is cool to see the beginning and seeing all these things together, but I think its major downfall, in a way, is that it doesn't feel as grand. I mean, okay, yeah, the stakes are raised, and I do like seeing how them actually going through this. But honestly, at least in the beginning, we don't see as big. We don't see how big it can get beyond way big in the ships. I think really it's just kind of explaining, getting everyone together. The first half of the episode is them explaining everything. And the second half is all fighting. Nothing really big on plot. And I usually don't. And I don't really go so much for that. Much of that is, as you see in the finales and my other ones, I went nuts for those because I like seeing the build up. I like seeing the build up and seeing all these things together. I felt like seeing the grand scale of things. And this is a storyline that's been built up for two seasons. And it may just be that the years I'm just older now and I already knew what was happening, so it doesn't feel as great. But in the beginning is good. I just feel it's not as grand as other beginnings. Again, and I kind of make a comparison. It's actually a lot better than Ben 10 Returns. Don't get me wrong. There's still action. We still see the nice beginning of a culmination. I still like seeing all these characters working alongside each other and having to fight for a grand goal. And I still like seeing all this stuff. And I especially like the ending. I really do like the ending of making you see all these hybrid ships coming in and just seeing how they failed to stop the Arch. These things are in. They're kind of doomed. I like that. I really do. It's just that I think my biggest thing is that even in those other finales in Ben 10, they had a lot. It was more than just explaining. It was all intermixed with each other in a way. when we got to Secret, when we got to Secret, we got to Secrets in season 1. There was a lot of action, but they still told their story visually. We still had some questions mixed in with the action. In Back with a Vengeance, I admit it didn't feel as great. It was still nice seeing them have some fun with that. When we got to the Return / Be Afraid of the Dark, there was build up in the Return, and then in Be Afraid of the Dark, we saw all the action paying off while still explaining what was going on and all that. And in Ben 10 versus Negative 10, it was just great. It was just, there was a mystery going on throughout the special. In this case, we already know what the mystery is. We already know what the mystery is. It was solved for us like 2 episodes ago. And at this point, we're just waiting for them to run into action. And again, we're just waiting for them to run into action. The first half of this episode is just explaining and getting the team together. I don't hate this episode. I still think it's good. I just think it would have been nice to see them intermix instead of just have one half explain, one half action. That's honestly it. That's just kind of my biggest concern. And I know you could say, oh, that was Ben 10, this is Ben 10 Alien Force. Well, they're still part of the same franchise, and I'm still going to kind of compare them. And no, I'm not going to compare it to X equals Ben plus 2. That was essentially just another episode that introduced Alien X. But this is a big payoff, and those other shows at least those other finales had grand payoffs and kept things interesting, kept things mixed in, kept your attention while still explaining. It actually did feel like it actually still felt grand. Here, it's one half explained, one half action, nothing intertwined. Yeah. And again, I'm not going to go into my full thoughts on this, on the special as a whole, on the episodes as a whole, until I get to part 2 next week. But for now, when it comes down to the first part, I think it's good, but I've seen better beginnings for finales in this show, so. Again, it's just the beginning, though. And this is just the first episode. This is the first episode. I remember, and trust me, there's still a lot more, there's still a lot of cool stuff, there's still a lot of stuff going on that happens in the next part, and again, it's just the first part. It's just meant to build suspense. I just think that it could have been better. Well, actually, I kind of would like to talk about that at least. In Ben 10 versus Negative 10, at least in that one, they did still build up anticipation while still keeping the action high. I liked that. Again, even, and then there's the Return, still action, mystery, and going on and so forth. I'm getting off topic. I think I've really said my piece. As a first part for the finale, I think it's good. I've seen better. The Return, Ben 10 versus Negative 10 part, Return / Ben 10 versus Negative 10 part 1, good setup. I think those were better ones. I think those are better first halves, but otherwise, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say, so. Again, I don't hate it. I think it's a good beginning. I think I could talk about, I could easily talk about the designs for the new aliens, but again, nothing really grand. Cannonball still looks the same. Upchuck is the way big. He looks very similar aside from some minor differences. Upchuck's the one that looks the most different. He's now green. His eyes aren't as round. They're more pointed. He's not wearing any clothes. And I know they explain in Omniverse that apparently, and I know they have an explanation for this in Omniverse, but honestly, I don't care for the explanation. It's just different design. He's still recognizable. I just attributed it to different animation, and Ben's older, so that's really all. And again, I'm not making a big deal out of that. I don't care enough, even though I'm talking about it, but yeah. I guess that's really all I have to say for this one, so. Thank you for watching. Sorry if I pissed you off. And tune in next week as we look at the finale of Season 2 of Ben 10 Alien Force. See you then.